Hello and welcome to Film in 5, where we review movies old and new to give you our opinions on the films we've been watching here at More Movies. My name is David Roberts, and in this episode I'm going to be talking about The Lost Boys, the cult 1987 teen horror comedy from Joel Schumacher. And just a warning that I will be talking about some of the plot points, so if you still haven't seen this classic movie, consider this a spoiler alert. The Lost Boys is an 80s classic that starred some of the era's most notable young stars, including Corey Haim, Patric, Kiefer Sutherland, Jami Gertz, and Corey Feldman. Being early on in his career, Kiefer Sutherland's role in the film launched him into a huge bankable Hollywood A-lister. The film follows teenage brothers Michael and Sam, who move with their mother to the small town of Santa Carla in Northern California. While the younger Sam meets a pair of kindred spirits in geeky comic book nerds Eddie and Alan Frog, the angst-ridden Michael soon falls for Star, who turns out to be attached to David, leader of a local gang of vampires. It's left up to Sam and his new friends to save Michael and Star from this motorcycle-riding posse of the undead. The late Joel Schumacher had an interesting career, from the highs of films such as St. Elmo's Fire and Phone Booth, to the critical lows of Batman and Robin, which was regarded as one of the worst films ever made. But The Lost Boys stands out in his canon as a seminal piece, beloved by fans even now, over 30 years after its release. The Lost Boys really is a landmark in cinema. It changed the perception of what vampires should, or indeed could, be. Before the film, the overriding vampire archetype in movies was based on Bram Stoker's Dracula. From Nosferatu to the Hammer horror version featuring Christopher Lee, the expectation of what a vampire was had never really changed. Even as late as 1979, the Nosferatu-like vampire was still present in films such as Salem's Lot. By the 80s, there were finally some developments to the vampire subgenre. First, we had Richard Wenck's comedy horror Vamp in 1986, followed by Tom Holland's Fright Night in 1985, which both started to change expectations of what these creatures of the night could be. It was a bit of a high period for vampire movies at the time. Just 2 months after The Lost Boys, we would see the release of Near Dark, a neo-western take on the genre that was less successful, but again gained a huge cult following in the years to come. None of these films, however, were as successful as The Lost Boys. Schumacher managed to tap into a revolution, mixing this horror tale with the cool teen movies of the 80s era, using some famous Brat Pack members. So now, the vampires were riding motorcycles, wearing leather coats, had cool hairstyles, and were hanging around with everyone else at the fun fair. They were sexy and cool, young and hip. They were, in short, humanised. The effect of the film is widespread in the vampire subgenre. 1992's Buffy the Vampire Slayer and its spin-off TV show with Sarah Michelle Gellar owe a lot to The Lost Boys. So does the Twilight Saga with Robert Pattinson, the cult TV show True Blood from Alan Ball, and Cirque du Freak the Vampire's Assistant, based on the Darren Shan books. I find it incredibly hard to believe the influence of these tales doesn't lead directly back to The Lost Boys. The film is entertaining and eminently watchable, packed with zingy one-liners, subtle humour and ultra-cool style. It's the embodiment of 80s filmmaking. Of course, it has its flaws, as any film does, especially as time passes. But ultimately, the thriller blends horror and humour perfectly, and accompanied by standout performances from a young cast, it delivers everything it sets out to do. But the film is not just a cult horror watch-along, it's packed with subtext and ideas that many people might miss. For example, a minor plotline suggests that all those missing children pictured on milk cartons are the victims of blood-sucking vampires. Now this sounds like something out of the Twilight Zone. The film is also a metaphor for mythic male bonding that resists growing up and commitment. It's packed with homoerotic subtext, references to closeted teenagers, and it's a reflection of disintegrating family units. It brought a far more modern aspect to the reality of what being young had become in the America of the 1980s. The Lost Boys is timeless and brilliant, forever a popcorn favourite to throw on and get lost in the world of yesteryear. It's reminiscent of a bygone era that maybe only exists in our imaginations, but it's a heck of a fun ride to visit. Its evocative costumes and set designs, brilliantly written script and stunning performances make it a joy to watch even 30 years later. As a final note, it also contains perhaps the best soundtrack of any individual film. Banging tracks such as Good Times and Lost in the Shadows, through to Echo and the Bunnymen's cover of People Are Strange, and the forever haunting Cry Little Sister, make up a brilliant soundtrack album that perhaps only films from the 80s could deliver.
One thing about living in Santa Carla I never could stomach. All the damn vampires.
That's it for this review. What do you think of Lost Boys? Do you love it as much as I do? Let us know in the comments down below. Till next time, take care of yourself and keep watching more movies. That's it for this video. Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. And remember to like, share and subscribe right here on YouTube. For more film reviews and articles, join us on our website moremovies.co.uk. Or join us on social media at More Movies For You. That's on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all across the board. You know the score. If you enjoy our content, please consider supporting us at buymeacoffee.com or join us on patreon.com. Links in the description down below. And for more filmtastic content, click one of the buttons on screen now.